Okay, we'll do a little bit of maintenance here on the 2003 Kawasaki ZRX1200. I'm in the midst of changing out the coolant, which is something the book says you ought to do about every 2 years. And I've let it go 2.5, so I realized it's time to get her done. Those of you who haven't done this job before with water-cooled bikes, it's pretty important to do it for a variety of reasons. You don't want your bike to overheat, and in addition to that, you certainly don't want problems with expensive cooling system components like the radiator and whatnot. This little sucker here, it turns out, costs about 400 bucks. I found that out the hard way when I was out riding, and something got kicked up from the highway and punched a hole in it, and I had to get a new one, and it was 400 bucks, Chico. Anyway, this bike is a 2003, so it's starting to get up there. It's 2014. One thing that I'm not going to do today, but which I did check and look at, which in addition to the coolant, just like on a car, rubber hoses, there's one here and there's another one here. These look to be in good condition. There's no sign of swelling, but probably in a couple of years down the road, I'm going to go ahead and replace them preemptively rather than wait for them to bust. Just because I think it's a good idea to fix things in your garage when you've got the time and tools handy, then get stuck by the side of the road having to do it then. I'll show you some of how the procedure is done on this bike as far as changing the coolant. Your bikes might be different than my bike, but general rules probably apply. In this particular bike, the first thing you do is take off the tank. There's the tank. And in this bike, it's pretty easy. There's 2 bolts holding it behind. There's a little switch here for the fuel gauge. There's the vapor hose for the carb, and then of course there's the fuel line for the carburetor down there, and then you slide the tank off, take it off, and then you want to take off the side cover to get your overflow tank, which is right here. And I've already drained this out. There's 2 bolts here, drain it out, and then replace it so that you got it up to the full mark. To drain the rest of the cooling system on this bike, if you can be able to see it, there's a little drain bolt right there, 10 millimeter bolt. You unscrew that. Then, with the tank off, pop the radiator cap off right here, and that will let the system drain out. Then you drain it out, and then you want to refill it. Now, this is something that's important. Most of you bike guys will know this, but for those of you who do not, it's very important to use bike-specific coolant. I like this Honda 50/50 stuff. Call your attention to that it's non-silicate, which means that it's designed for motorcycles that have mechanical seals internally, won't mess things up. You really want to use this. You definitely don't want to use water unless you want cooling system problems and expensive repairs. At any rate, when you're ready to go, ready to put in, you pour it in just like you would with a car, top off the system. On this bike, there's 2 bleeder valves that you have to deal with. The first one is tucked down here. It's also a 10 millimeter bolt, and it's hard to see, but it's right in here. And what you're going to do is put a catch pan underneath it, loosen it just enough to let the coolant start to come out. That'll force out any of the air bubbles. Then you close that sucker off. The second one is here at the thermostat housing. The thermostat's in here, just incidentally. And what you're going to want to do is start the bike. Now, with the tank off, you're going to need an external fuel source. Here's what I rig up, just an old funnel. Hose goes directly into the gas line, easy peasy Japanese. You just put a little gas in here, you really don't need a whole lot. Then you can run the bike, let it warm up, the thermostat will open. There's your bleeder valve. Screw that open a little bit, let the excess air seep out. Top it off until it's full. Put the cap on, you're done. Put the tank back on, put the side covers back on. You are ready to rock. And that is the extent of today's maintenance video. For those of you who saw the previous video I did about the fork change, you'll see I've got the new tire and I've got the forks back together and the front end back together, and the bike is almost up to snuff again and ready to go out and abuse some clovers, abuse some speed laws. At any rate, I'm going to have a text article up at epautos.com, the website where you guys can look and post comments, questions, and we will catch up with you next time.